Me right now is Oklahoma Senator James Lankford. He's a member of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs and Intelligence Committee. Senator, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Your reaction to what you're hearing?
Yeah, it's painful, obviously, for Private King out there. We have no idea why he did this. We faced charges in South Korea. He was coming back home to the United States to face charges. And for him to be able to bolt away from the group that's escorting him on the plane to get him back to the United States, to get away from them, and then to join this tour group is very odd. So we're trying to figure out what in the world's going on. But this is definitely a propaganda coup for Kim Jong-un at this point. But we need to get that American back home, regardless if he was about to face charges in the United States or not. He's an American, and we need to get him back home.
Well, we don't understand what he was doing. I mean, do we have any insight into why he would cross the demarcation line?
Why anyone would cross from the south to north wouldn't make any sense at all. Anyone at all, much less an American soldier. So no, we don't know yet. We have suspicions and ideas. Obviously, he was been brought to the United States to face charges for assault, but we don't know anything else about it at this point.
Meanwhile, Israeli President Isaac Herzog addressing Congress today. President Biden seemed to struggle during yesterday's Oval Office meeting with Herzog and relied heavily on note cards. Take a look. Watch.
Well, Mr. President, welcome back. Welcome back to Washington. Welcome back to the White House, and it's a pleasure to have you. We brought Israelis and Palestinians together at a political level, and Aqaba and as well as Shram.
The president of Israel, I don't think he knew what to do, Senator. How would you assess yesterday?
Yeah, that was painful to watch, is how I would assess that. Obviously, Israel is our closest ally in the Middle East. We have great relationships with them, both with Netanyahu and with Herzog. Herzog is the president of Israel is a more ceremonial position, greeting foreign leaders and interacting, where the prime minister is actually the one that's the head of government. We've been waiting on President Biden to be able to invite the actual head of government to be able to come. President Biden has now said he's going to do that sometime this fall, but we're waiting on details on that. In the past, in 2015, we had Netanyahu actually speaking to Congress. This time we have the president, which we're glad to have President Herzog coming and to be able to speak. He'll have a lot to be able to say today, but we would hope that our president and Israel's leadership would have a warmer, more open dialogue, let's say.
Well, I mean, the whole time he's there staring at notes. What an insult, Todd Pyro.
Yeah, again, beyond the Israeli-American issue here, there's the broader issue of the individual in the White House competency for the job. This was, one, a home game, two, with an ally, one of our biggest allies, and three, you have note cards. If it is this bad, the display that we just saw, and we still have about 2 more years left in this regime, what happens if Joe Biden wins re-election? What do the 4 years after those 2 years look like when we have to meet with world leaders? Our vision, what we portray to the rest of this world.
Yeah, well, obviously there's an election between here and there, and we're hoping, quite frankly, on my side of the aisle and for millions of other Americans, that Joe Biden does not win the election a year and a half from now. But right now, Joe Biden fumbling a conversation with a world leader ends up being non-news. It ends up being the dog bites man kind of story, because it just becomes so incredibly common at this point as we watch him be able to struggle to interact with world leaders over and over and over again. We're the United States of America. We should be putting forward strength and clarity in who we are and what our mission is and what our values are. That was just a fumbling of that yesterday.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because our adversaries are also watching this, watching the commander-in-chief fall down, watching the commander-in-chief stare at notes, fumbling around with words. The White House is now refusing to condemn Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal after she called Israel a, quote, racist state. Fox News White House correspondent, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on it yesterday. Watch this.
What we didn't hear was any condemnation of her comment from the White House. Does the White House condemn that comment?
I mean, look, the apology was the right thing to do. And we've been very clear when it comes to anti-Semitism. This administration and the entire Biden-Harris administration have been clear that when Israel is singled out because of anti-Jewish hate, that's anti-Semitism, and that is unacceptable.
Senator, your thoughts there, and also China in terms of this administration's dealings with China. We've been talking all morning about the potential for this president to be compromised, given all of the money he's taken in from China. Your thoughts on the best response to all of this aggression coming out of communist China, from a spy balloon to police stations, the COVID cover-up, the list is long.
Well, let me say first that Israel is not a racist state. In fact, it's the exact opposite of that. As you look at their government, you look at their operations, look at how they interact with their neighbors and people that are inside their own nation. They even have individuals in this Jewish state that are non-Jewish that are actually in the Knesset. So they are most clearly not a racist state. The White House should have been clear to be able to condemn this rather than just saying, oh, it's good that she made an apology and trying to be able to make this soft. As far as what's happening in China, clearly this administration is focused on trying to be able to turn over energy control of the United States over to China. When they're pushing the energy agenda they're pushing right now, saying that we need to be all electric, they know full well that China is in the lead right now on solar. They're in the lead right now on lithium production because America has turned over mining to China, turned over cobalt to China, and has handed over our energy future to them. So the last thing we need to do is to be able to turn from energy independence in the United States to energy dependence to a communist China.
Wow. Turning over energy and leadership of energy in the world to China. Just stunning. Senator, thanks very much. We'll be watching your work. James Lankford joining us this morning in D.C. Thank you, Senator. Quick